Hello. So today I want to talk about something that almost everybody struggles with, but very few people actually understand. And that is this. Why do you keep repeating the same negative patterns in your life even when you desperately want change? Now guys, before that, I want you to please subscribe to this channel because I am going to keep sharing deep insights, practical tools, nervous system healing, subconscious rewiring, and powerful conversations that can genuinely transform the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you live your life. And honestly, you don't want to miss out on these videos. So let's dive into today's topic. Why do you keep repeating the same old negative patterns? Now be honest. You've probably had moments where you've asked yourself, why does this keep happening to me? Different people, different situations, different years, but somehow the same emotional pain, the same relationship patterns, overthinking, anxiety, emotional exhaustion, self-sabotaging, and procrastination. And after a while, it becomes quite frustrating because you genuinely want your life to change and you start telling yourself this time it will be different, right? But somehow you find yourself back in the same emotional cycle again. And eventually you start blaming yourself. You think maybe you are the problem. Maybe you are weak. Or maybe you are unlucky, cursed, broken. Or maybe you start saying, this is who I am. But I really want you to hear me carefully when I say this. You are not stuck because you are weak, you are unlucky, you are broken, or anything of that sort that you think negative about yourself. You are stuck because there are unconscious patterns running your life. And until you understand those patterns, you will continue recreating the same pain in different forms. Because patterns don't just randomly appear. These patterns, they come from somewhere. You have learned these patterns very early on in your life. And today I want to help you to understand, why do you keep repeating the same emotional cycles? Why do you keep attracting the same unhealthy situations? Why do you overthink, procrastinate, self-sabotage, and keep ending up emotionally drained? And most importantly, how can you finally break free from these cycles? That's very important. Because healing is not just about trying harder. Healing is not also about changing your behavior. Your behavior is a very superficial activity. It's all about understanding what your nervous system has been programmed to repeat. And honestly, that is the part that nobody explains properly. So you see, your mind wants peace. You're sure about that, right? But your nervous system wants familiarity. Now that sentence is a very powerful sentence and it explains so much about your life. And I'm going to explain this to you. See, your mind wants happiness. You want calmness. You want healthier relationships. But your nervous system, which we also call the subconscious mind, it keeps pulling you towards what feels emotionally familiar, even if it is hurtful. And that's why you may say, I don't want another toxic relationship. But somehow you keep attracting emotionally unavailable people in your life. Or maybe you tell yourself, I just want peace. Who doesn't want peace? Everyone wants it, right? But not everyone gets it. Because your life constantly feels full of chaos, stress, emotional overwhelm, and anxiety. Or maybe you keep procrastinating things. You want to move forward, you want to take an action, but something inside of you freezes. And then you blame yourself for not doing enough. But what if I tell you that you are not lazy? What if your nervous system is simply trying to protect you? Yes, you heard me right. Your subconscious mind is actually just trying to protect you. Now that changes everything. Because once you stop judging yourself, you can finally start understanding yourself. And that's very important. Honestly, most negative patterns, begin much earlier than you even realize. A lot of these patterns were formed when you were younger. Now stay with me here because this is very, very important. If you grew up in an environment where you felt criticized, where you felt emotionally neglected, abandoned, constantly compared, emotionally unsafe, unseen, or forced to suppress your emotions, your nervous system adapted to survive that environment. So what is the problem? The problem is that your body remembers those survival patterns long after the situation is over. So now, as an adult, you may unconsciously recreate those emotional experiences that feel familiar to your nervous system. And that's the reason why you may find yourself attracted to emotionally inconsistent people. That's the reason why you may constantly seek validation. You may fear rejection very, very deeply. You may overthink every conversation. And that's why you may abandon yourself trying to keep other people comfortable. Now, you might think this is just your personality. But honestly, it is not. A lot of it is conditioning. A lot of it is survival programming. And this is exactly why mindset advice alone doesn't work. Because you cannot simply positive think your way out of nervous system dysregulation. Your body has to feel safe enough to change or to think positive. And that's the missing piece. And this is why self-sabotage happens. Now, this part is really, really important because so many people secretly hate themselves for self-sabotaging. But honestly, most self-sabotage is not self-hatred. It is self-protection. I'm going to explain this by giving you an example. Now, if success once brought a lot of pressure, a lot of criticism, a lot of stress into your life, part of you may fear being successful. If you were deeply in love with someone, but that love actually brought you a lot of pain, now part of you may fear intimacy. If speaking up once led to rejection, part of you may just want to stay silent. So now procrastination becomes emotional protection. I hope you understand that point now. Overthinking becomes protection. Avoidance, freezing, all of these activities, the negative activities actually becomes a protection. And then you might start calling yourself lazy, broken, weak, unmotivated, when really your nervous system is trying to just protect you from that emotional pain that you experienced once upon a time. And this is why awareness about these things changes everything. Because the moment you stop saying, this is who I am, and you start saying instead, this is the pattern I learned, you create a separation. And you should listen to this once again. Separation creates freedom. Now let me tell you something else that's really, really powerful. Patterns continue because they become automatic. You stop consciously choosing them. Your reactions become automatic. Your emotional triggers become automatic. And your relationship choice also becomes automatic. And eventually you start living on an autopilot mode. That's why healing requires slowing down. Slowing down enough to observe yourself. Now remember, it's not about judging yourself. It's about observing yourself. You have to be really kind with yourself. So what do you need to notice? You need to notice those triggers. You need to notice when is your energy really feeling drained. What is making you anxious? What type of people are you chasing? What situations are making you freeze? And what emotions are you avoiding? What patterns are repeating in your life? Because patterns begin losing power the moment you become conscious of them. The moment you start looking at them eye to eye, they lose their control over you. And honestly, this is one of the reasons I teach the zero ritual. Because see, most people are trying to heal while they are mentally overloaded. Your mind is constantly full of stress, pressure, comparison, anxiety, emotional noise, overthinking, fear, survival thinking, and God knows what. This is all noise. Even if you're successful on the outside, you feel crumbling on the inside. So when your nervous system is overloaded, you cannot see your patterns clearly. You only react automatically. So what does the Zero Ritual do? Zero Ritual is all about helping you return back to zero. What does that mean? That means you return back to stillness. You return back to emotional neutrality. You return back to awareness. Because when your nervous system calms down, clarity starts returning. And what happens when clarity returns? You begin seeing your life differently. In fact, you start understanding why are you choosing certain people? Why are you abandoning yourself? You start understanding why you tolerate unhealthy behavior. Why do you keep overthinking all the time? What are your fears? Why you stay emotionally stuck? You start understanding all of these, and that's huge. Because once you start seeing your patterns clearly, you can finally begin changing it consciously. And that is where real healing begins. Real healing is not about pretending to be strong. It is not about forcing positivity on yourself. It is not about blaming yourself all the time. That's not you. It is all about understanding yourself deeply enough so that you can break these cycles. And honestly, if this resonated deeply with you, I want you to join my free masterclass because I go much deeper into breaking negative patterns, nervous system healing, emotional regulation, trauma responses, and I also explain the full Zero Ritual process in my free live masterclass. And these masterclasses are specifically designed for South Asian people living abroad. Now, because your patterns are not permanent, guys. Your patterns are learned, which also means that they can be unlearned. And if you want a deeper healing and a deeper support, you are more than welcome to join my community, the Sovereign Circle. This community is for both men and women who come together to stop living in survival mode and finally creating emotional peace, healthier relationships, confidence, clarity, and emotional freedom. And just remember this, the moment you become aware of your patterns, the pattern already begins losing its power over you. Now, I hope you found this video really helpful. And I hope you have also subscribed for more videos like this. I am going to put the description for my masterclass in the comments below. Do come and see me live in my free masterclass. Take care of yourself till we meet again. Bye for now.